Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
And after that intro, are we recording? Of course we are, guys. It is Alex with ALP Entertainment with the co-host Luke. Luke, say what's up to the people.
What up, what up?
This is a big day. It has been a massive day to be a Nebraska fan, especially after, in my opinion, a very heart-wrenching loss to Texas history in volleyball. It just seemed like the girls weren't in it. I didn't know if Texas's serving was like that good. I didn't expect them to play like that, and I didn't expect Nebraska to play like that. I don't know. Did you get to watch any of it?
No, I didn't watch a single minute because I was watching the Nebraska basketball game / listening to it. That is my priority over everything.
I did have both going, but I will say that
I did keep up. I kept tabs.
Yeah,
I saw by going down 2-0 in sets and just the scores of those two sets, I was like, all right, I probably don't need to keep any more tabs on
this. I did turn it off after about 15 points into the second set when Texas was up. I was like, dude, I can't watch this anymore. I just physically can't. It was just heart-wrenching. I was just telling Luke that we were watching, my wife and I were watching in our living room, and I had my phone set up on my chest, and I was watching the basketball game. I had the volleyball game on the TV, and I look at my wife, and she's just like, you can turn it. I was like, sweet. So I switched it so the TV was showing the basketball game. I feel like we just have to dive deep right into the big news, the breaking news.
Hold on. Before we say this, I want to say that we scheduled this before we knew this news.
That is true. Yeah, this is not like an impromptu. Like we're gonna record tonight like usual, and this is massive. For those who don't know, we got him. Dylan Raiola has flipped his commitment from Georgia to come play at Nebraska. The number 1 overall quarterback and the number 2 overall player of the class. That is massive.
Yeah, what's the thing they said? They said that was the third 5-star ever committed to Nebraska and the number 1 rated quarterback that's ever committed to Nebraska.
He's been the first 5-star, I think, since Marlon Lucky, and I think that was in 2006.
Yeah, I believe that, and then I think the other name was Tommy Frazier. Don't quote us on that, but I believe those are the two other 5-stars.
Yeah, Dominican Sue wasn't rated that high.
No, yeah, we've been known for developing. Not the past couple of years, but we've been known in the history of Nebraska football for developing players into greatness, and so this is a first, really. Even in the years that we were winning national championships, like.
We didn't recruit like this though.
No.
When we didn't seek out the number 1 players of classes. Like I think even when we were the national powerhouse, like we didn't seek out people like that. We looked for the farm kids here in Nebraska, in the Midwest, and obviously that's how people built their teams in the 2000s and late 90s. I mean, I don't think that we have that sort of impact here now, because if you're a good football player in high school, you go to a good high school to get more looks and more attention than you would at like a smaller school.
Typically the Texas high schools, they do it a lot bigger. It's literally like 20,000 fans in the high school football games at Texas. But Dylan Raiola, I mean, it definitely helps that
he won the Elite 11 camp.
He won the Elite 11 camp. It definitely helps that his uncle is the offensive line coach. He's technically a legacy. I would probably say that was a big reason. Also, Nebraska has a decent deep pocket in the NIL category, but just along with that and the family ties.
I have an inside source that was telling me that Dylan Raiola's like NIL contract is being funded by one of the zoo donors that helped with like the development of like the aquarium, the jungle, like all the big expansions that you see at the zoo. We have the number 1 zoo in the world, by the way. They are fulfilling that NIL contract. He's looking at $3 to $5 million a year. That is insane.
Yeah, and hopefully it's closer to the 3. Hopefully we got that family discount. But
That family discount, hopefully.
yeah, because you want to be able to. I mean, we are big in the NIL, and it doesn't seem like it. I know they were talking on the radio today, or at least there was a caller that called in that said Nebraska, like, they portray themselves as this big money, big NIL, like we can compete with anyone in the country in this category. But all of these top players that you see in the transfer portal, Nebraska's not really pursuing them super, super hard. And so it just kind of like begs the question, like, where is the money going to? How much money do we actually have? Like, how invested are they in the 1890? And
It made me, it kind of, to your point, it made me wonder how long we've known, like how long we knew that we are in the Raiola like drawing.
I think they were saying that you can never count yourself out of it just because of the family ties, because of so technically, rule book wise, legally wise, like you can't contact these players at certain times, blah, blah, blah. We have a loophole, thank God, because his uncle is our offensive line coach.
And that's a funny story, by the way. I'll get to it.
His uncle is able, obviously, you're not going to restrict someone's uncle from contacting their nephew. And so he can communicate with Raiola anytime he wants, at any hour, any day, like any non-recruiting hour or whatever, and then he can relay that message to Coach Rule. And so,
there was a rumor, I don't know if it's true, that so normally recruiting visits are one day. Kids come here one day, they leave. Either they come in the morning or the night before they stay, and then they leave the next night. He was here the entire weekend. So there's like a rumor that
because he stayed at his uncle's house.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, I was about to say, like, he was
loopholes.
Yep, we figured it out. So Matt Rule is playing chess, not checkers. But also, like, from the back end of it, I know Georgia was not big on like keeping him. Not like keeping him, but like they didn't do anything to keep him.
They seem really content with having 3-star quarterbacks and surrounding them with 5-star players. Now that has worked for them. They're repeating.
Great.
They're fantastic. They're one of the best football programs in the country, if not just the best. Better than Alabama, I would probably say. But in Nebraska's case, we need that 5-star quarterback. We need someone that is used to the spotlight, because we've seen what has happened to quarterbacks that have come to Nebraska, aka Jeff Sims, who are not ready for the spotlight, who are not ready for this magnifying glass fishbowl of a state when they come to their football program.
Dude,
and Raiola is ready for that.
He is, and I mean, I'm excited because I've been following him on Twitter for a while. I really want to, now that like the news is broke that he's committed. Obviously, nothing is official until he signs on that dotted line on Wednesday morning. Like, nothing is official. He can say he's committed today, but it can get flipped again tomorrow. Like,
but you wouldn't. The Raiola family is all about family, all about trust, all about truth. They're part Hawaiian, and it just doesn't seem like that's something that.
And he made a big deal about
they wouldn't
like
play his uncle.
Social media posts.
Yeah, they wouldn't play his uncle. They wouldn't play the state. It means too much to him. I think at this point you can almost guarantee that it's a for sure thing. He's technically a hard commit. I think, what is it, Wednesday
morning at 9 a.m. is
Wednesday
early
morning
signing day.
So I wouldn't expect, unless Matt Rule gets a DUI, drunk driving or some shit, I wouldn't expect anything to change. So
I'm excited to see what I was going to say was his social media increase. Like the amount of people that are, because when I was looking at it, he was at 3.3 thousand, which to me is not a lot. I was expecting
Rule or Raiola?
Dylan
Raiola, yeah.
Which I was expecting a lot more, but you also got to realize that the big fan base of Nebraska is not Twitter users. They're all older demographic that reads the newspaper still. Like, that's your audience. Like, I think, you might correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the Nebraska student section has not been as hype as it was even when we were in college. Like, I don't believe that it's talked about, hyped up enough, or even hyped up at all like it used to. You can see it at other sporting events. I don't know if it's just this generation not caring about sports as much anymore as we did growing up, or even the generations before us, but hopefully with this, it lights a fire in the entire university and all the way down to like band kids, like drama kids. Like I want everybody to fill that stadium. And I know the spring game coming up, I'm going to request that spring game off. I don't care if I have to work or not. I want to see that kid play. And I want to see him play. I want to see Danny Kalen play.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that. Daniel Kalen, who was originally going to go take a visit to Michigan State, but has decided to stay all in.
Especially after, so he posted, so news broke, I think, last Thursday that he was going to visit Michigan State. And then he posted a video Friday morning of him throwing to Isaiah McMorris, Davion Hall, who are his teammates from Bellevue West, and Fedoni at the Warren Academy, which is up the street from us. So it's cool to see that, you know, he is building that trust with his young core. And he also understands, like, hey, you know, hopefully Danny understands that we went heavy. We threw our entire, not even the kitchen sink, we threw the whole house at Dylan. And
that's what you have to do for the number one quarter. Like if you have a hand even dipping into the jar, like you have to go all in. Like if you have even a shot, like you have to give yourself a chance. And so I feel like anyone should know, like, don't take it personal. And I'm glad that Daniel didn't. And I feel like they have talked about that Daniel Kalen and Dylan Raiola, they've met each other before. Obviously, they faced off each other in the camp, the Elite 11 camp, and they have a good relation. And I think there's a good understanding. Dylan Raiola is 6'5", 220, has adult muscles, and he's the number one quarterback for a reason. He can throw it. Who I was listening to the radio today, one of the bigger Nebraska media guys, Steve Sipple, if you follow him, he's a really good follow. He was saying that Dylan Raiola can throw it 70 yards, like in the air, no problem.
Flick of the wrist.
And so there's not many people that as freshmen can come in and play this level of football right away, have those physical attributes. But he does. And so I think, and Daniel Kalen knows that he has all the tools and all the tangibles and stuff to get there. He just needs to grow into his body a little bit.
I do think too that I'll start from like Thursday when the news broke that Dylan had landed in Lincoln. Like I'll take you through my timeline. So I was at work. I was honestly checking Twitter like religiously throughout the day. Even this weekend, I probably shouldn't have, but I was, because I was hoping for that commit. I did read that Dylan Raiola had said that volleyball Sunday, that's their day. I'm not taking the spotlight away from them. That's them. We did treat him to a Nebraska basketball game. It was a women's game. Wasn't packed out like it normally is for a men's game, which we just also, you know, our men team were playing in K-State, which we'll get to in a little bit. But also, you had the volleyball game, which majority of our fans traveled to.
There were so many things happening on Sunday. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Like we couldn't sell out that game to pitch that to him. But also I know that he went to a wrestling meet. He spent a lot of time. He hung out with Malachi at the games. Like Malachi gave him his book that he wrote, which is amazing.
And I can't remember. He was sitting next to, they don't know. They haven't said for sure. They don't know, but they said his future quarterbacks coach. He played quarter. I can't remember what his name is. He looks like a young guy. He's kind of got a goatee.
There's speculation that they're bringing his quarterback coach, who also coaches Patrick Mahomes, up here. Like okay. They're gonna, the rumor. Oh god, dude, I hate these rumors.
Yeah, there's so many hypotheticals and like things aren't set yet. There's so many things that'll be happening in the coming weeks.
Yeah, the rumors are that his quarterback coach, Dylan's coach, and Patrick Mahomes' coach is the same person. They're going to bring him up here to be the quarterback coach, and they're just going to let Coach Satterfield run offensive coordinator again. Or
tight ends.
Or even tight ends. Like, they're speculating that moving him around. And there's also talks of Coach Bethel being let go.
Yeah, I did hear that if there was any coach that was going to be let go, I mean, maybe there was some that were like kind of behind the scenes we don't know about, but like front name to name basis type coaches. Yeah, the EJ Bethel running
And
backs
it's
coach.
not because of he did a bad job. That's not it. It's actually because he wants to spend more time with family. That's what I heard. He wants us, and he didn't expect this job to be as demanding as it is.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's people that will be like, well, the running back rotation was honestly atrocious. Like we got in. He didn't even really bring in. Like, we were pretty lucky to get the Emmett Johnson, and he wasn't even very highly rated when he was coming in. He didn't bring in too many recruits, and then like his how he exchanged the running backs and divvied up the carries and stuff was very odd. It was always questioning, and not that they didn't do a bad job. Like, Emmett Johnson, 17 carries or like 14 carries, like 74 yards, but that was pretty much what he had every game. And like everyone had the same amount of carries, same amount of yards, and you just never really rode the hot hand. So I knew that at the end of the season, he was one of the names that they brought up that could be a potential let go.
Yeah, it's when I was reading and when I was hearing that it's like he just wants to spend more time with his family. He didn't realize that this job was so demanding. Like, I get it, man. I really do. Like, it's unfortunate. It really is. I would like to see him grow as a coach.
It's easy to hide behind when you're the running back coach at UConn, who's a terrible football program, and then he comes to Nebraska, where everyone is under the microscope and graded heavily,
and where we have good running backs and we're known for running the ball.
Yeah, like, so it's a tough spot. I could see what you're saying too. Like, maybe he wants to take a step back and see what.
Maybe he can go be in this, like, maybe Rule wants to keep him on the staff just because he is such a good guy and kind of take that title off of him. Just be like, hey, I still want you a part of my staff. Like, maybe do an assistant role first. Like, maybe do that and work your way back up and just see. I hope the best for Coach Bethel. I really do. I want him to stick around. I want him to recruit and develop our running backs the best he can and the best that Rule and Satterfield can. So we'll have to see.
Because we did have some fun. I mean, quarterback had fumbling problems, but so did the running back, and so that falls on his shoulders too.
On him. Did you happen to see that Matt Rule and his staff crashed at a wedding in Ainsworth?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That as long as Matt Rule doesn't get a DUI in the upcoming weeks, I think Raiola is going to be set to go. But luckily, Nebraska's got deep pockets, and they literally they took a plane from Ainsworth back to Lincoln. Like, that's, and me and Alex, who do this radio show for you guys, this talk show for you guys, we drive. We don't have planes, and so just the sentence of flying a plane from Ainsworth, Nebraska, back to Lincoln, Nebraska, sounds ridiculous to me. But like, that's the place that the football program is in, and so yeah, they, like you said, they crashed a party in Ainsworth. They were visiting Carter Nelson, number 2 tight end.
I think he got bumped down.
I think he got bumped down a little bit just because he does play 7-man football, but his attributes and his physical ability.
That's twice we've gotten the top 2 tight end in the recruit class.
I'll have to look it up maybe in our second segment here, but there was a whole list of just the people that are coming in next year. Number 1 tight end, or the people that could be starting for us next year. Number 1 quarterback, number 1 tight end,
Fodoni was number 1 tight end last year.
Number 1 player from Hawaii, number 1 player from, like, there's just this whole big list, and some.
I mean, you probably rank the Bellevue West boys and even Malachi up there as top 3-4 players in Nebraska. Like, you have to put them up there in a way. Like, you gotta put them up there. Matt Rule was, I don't think it's true, but he was drunk tweeting. I don't know if you saw that. That was hilarious.
I think he was drinking. I think some of the coaches were. I think they, obviously, if you don't know, small town weddings are plentiful of beer, so I'm sure they had kegs a flowing.
That entire town was invited to that wedding.
Yeah, that's what they said in the tweet, is basically the whole town of Ainsworth was there. Even
if they weren't, like, let's just say hypothetically, like the bride and groom invited 300 people, which is like an average size wedding, and word got out like quickly, like, hey, oh my God, Matt Rule and his staff is here. Boom. The amount of people that are rushing to that reception is going to be crazy, regardless if you're invited or not.
Because Carter Nelson is pretty much I mean, he is now, but like pretty much his whole career, he's always gonna end up at Nebraska.
Oh, Carter was not the one getting married, by the way.
No, Carter was not getting married.
Yeah, he's only 18.
He was always gonna end up in Nebraska. But just the fact that these coaches who've only been here for just a little over the year have visited Ainsworth, Nebraska multiple times
Just to see him.
just to check up on them, see how they're doing, see the town. Like it shows dividends to this coaching staff and like what they'll go for, the lengths that they go for, just the hard work they put in. You didn't see this. Scott Frost wasn't going to put this effort in to
No, not at all. I mean, I think that also shows
not to throw shots at him.
Oh, I got a topic about him in a little bit, but no, to your point, I think that shows like just the character that Matt Rule instills on his staff. You know, like he wants everybody on his staff to be a good person first, then a good coach. You know,
he's worried about turning these kids into good people and good human beings and like bettering their lives and not fulfilling their pockets with money. Like he has better morals, he has better ideas like for these kids, and like it's all genuine and true. And sometimes like these kids go on these visits, and for examples for like Georgia's and the Texas A&M's, like the other schools that have big pockets, like they're not as genuine, they're not as truthful.
No, and I agree, and I think that might have been another reason why Dylan flipped. Like obviously, like I said earlier, I don't recall hearing or seeing anything about Georgia like actively pursuing to keep him. You know, like word got out that the starting quarterback Carson Beck decided to
that's what I was about to say,
come back, and like
shortly after that.
Yeah, like after that, it was like Raiola has an open commitment again. It's like, well, what? Like I think that is what opened the floodgates, and maybe Matt Rule knew that ahead of time. He probably did, and just made the executive decision like we need to do everything we can to go get this guy. So, but then it makes you think about who is our quarterbacks going forward. You have to. You and I talked prior to recording that there's rumors of Casey Thompson coming back. He has 1 year left. He was granted a medical red shirt for a 6 year.
Left. He's enrolled in classes. He's here in Lincoln. He's hanging out with the football players. Nothing's true yet. He hasn't joined the football team, but yes, he is here. Yes, he is enrolled in classes. Yes, he's doing physical therapy in Lincoln.
Is he still technically enrolled at FAU?
No, he is
complete transfer out.
He is enrolled in classes in Lincoln. He's in the directory in the School of Lincoln.
I didn't know if he transferred out of FAU after his surgery.
He did, yep.
Okay. But Luke was saying I don't want to speak for you, but I know Luke was saying before we started recording that Casey comes in and be's like a mentor for Dylan. If that's the case, then we're just pretty much replacing Casey Thompson replacing Kyle McCord, who was rumored to come here, which fell through, for Casey Thompson.
Which is better because he is more willing to teach Dylan Raiola, the freshman.
He's been here.
He's been here before. He knows what Nebraska football is like. He's willing to hand the torch off type of deal instead of with Kyle McCord. It sounded like he needed to be the guy. He didn't want to have competition, hence why he dropped from Ohio State down to Syracuse football. I don't know if there was other reasons, but it's typically that's someone doesn't do that. It's a pretty big drop off.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I also think that there's a part of me that believes that Casey doesn't play.
No, I think maybe he goes through his rehab, goes through his whatever he needs to do, and if he's like, hey, shoot, man, like I want to strap it up and like be a part of this team. You don't need to give me a scholarship. Obviously, I've already almost have 2 degrees in college, so
I'm saying like I think that he retires. I think he medically retires from football and he joins the staff as an assistant coach.
Yeah,
to mentor. Like he doesn't take up a roster spot. He's just that kind of guy to what you're saying, being the mentor, being the coach.
I guess that's true. It's really tough right now with all these people coming in to keep under the scholarship limit. So maybe the idea you would lean more towards him retiring from football and joining the staff as an assistant quarterbacks coach or just a mentor for Daniel Kalen and for Dylan Raiola.
I think that because you and I talked about the depth chart for next year, I think you have to start Raiola. You have to. Like, I think you go number one, or he goes number one, excuse me. I think you go Chuba number two. We're just hypothetical if Casey does not enroll.
Yeah. Or if we don't, there's even more potential that we pick up another quarterback somewhere in the portal.
Yeah. I think you go Harburg 3, and I think you just redshirt Kalen at 4. And you use Kalen if, like, break the glass emergency, which hopefully it never gets to that point.
Hopefully it never gets to that point. And I think Daniel Kalen even would agree that he's like, okay, I don't want to sit for years and years and years. I want to compete, but I feel okay with sitting my first year to get the experience, the
learning.
Yeah,
I will tell you, I did see a tweet earlier when the news broke last week of when Raiola was coming to Lincoln for a visit. Some guy laid out the actual timeline of how this could work. So Raiola would play next year, so 2024 to 2027. So he would declare after 3 years, and then Kalen would take over for 2 years, 3 years, depending on if we redshirted him, if he ever suffered a medical redshirt or even a graduate year. Like, Kalen could start for 2 to 3 years because also.
He needs the development. He has the tangible skills, he has the tools, he has all these attributes and stuff. He just needs to grow into his body. And you don't want to say it, but like Dylan Raiola playing high school football in Arizona, Texas, and Georgia is different than playing high school football at Bellevue West.
Yeah, like if you can dominate in Georgia like Raiola did.
Those are all very we have talent here in Nebraska. We have good football here in Nebraska, but it's different. It's a different thing.
It's a different animal in the South. And then it makes you wonder about the floodgates that are going to open, like with
peer recruiting,
flip commitments.
Flip commitments.
One name that's been circling that we'll get back to after this quick break is Julian Fleming. So we'll talk about it here in a minute. Okay, so we're back, and Julian Fleming. So there was rumors of him being a package deal with Kyle McCord, and Kyle McCord obviously took his name out of the hat for Nebraska. It is what it is. He decided to go to Syracuse, but rumors have been circulating again that Julian Fleming wants to be back in with Nebraska. And I know he already took his visit. We're still in the transfer portal opening. Portal doesn't close until the 18th of January, so we literally have another month to the date. I would like to see him come here. Obviously, we're being biased of like to see everybody come here regardless of your stars, but at the same time, it's now that Dylan Raiola has committed, the floodgates have opened. We're gonna get all these flips, we're gonna get all these commits, we're gonna get all these like kids that want to come play for us now, whether it's recruiting for upcoming years or even just right now. Do you see him coming to Nebraska? Do you think that he stays true and it's just like backs out, or do you think he stays true to staying home or coming here? Excuse me.
It's really tough because you don't know a lot of these. He's an older player, and it sounds like my impression that he is like got a good head on his shoulders, and he can see like I don't know. That's some of these younger players that are still up in the air with places, like they want to be wowed and they want to be shown off and like appreciated and stuff like that. But like Nebraska and Matt Rule isn't trying to do that with everyone. Like they need to know that you're bought into the program, bought into the team, and it's really cool to see pretty much all the people that we get official visits from. Like if we get them on campus, we have a high chance of them wanting to commit to our program, or at least talking good about Nebraska, saying like it's one of the best places they've seen, type of deal.
Yeah, the guy that you mentioned earlier, what was his name that came to visit us? You said I can't remember the dude's name. We were just talking about him. That, anyways, a guy came in, and I know Fleming's dad had said the same thing about our facilities, that we are some Stiple. Is that right?
Steven Sipple.
Sipple.
Yeah. He's a scribe for the Nebraska like program, and mostly football, but other stuff too. And Sam McEwen too. They were both saying that Nebraska, with this new practice facility coming out, like they were already top in the country, but with the new practice facility, that they do have better facilities than Georgia, and then validated with Julian Fleming's father, like you said, also coming on the official visit with his son, saying that yes, it is true. Nebraska does have nicer, better facilities than the top schools in the country, like Georgia.
It's good to get that validation, because now it's getting out and around the world that the country, excuse me, that we are who we say we are. We are them.
We stand on business.
We did stand on business. We do pump $15-25 million into a new facility, and with Raiola coming right now, this is the perfect time, because it's done. It's finished.
Yeah, I like the way we're showing we got the money, we have the facilities, we have the know-how, we have the want to, we have the fan base, but we're going to do it morally the right way.
Yeah.
Instead of some of these other schools that are not doing it the right way, that are giving you false hope, false promises.
And I'll tell you too, like, to that point, I do love the thing about Matt Rule is he I don't want to say stand on business again, but it is like true of he wants people to come play for Nebraska that want to play for Nebraska. Like, don't bring your dirty laundry here. Don't bring your demons with you. Like, we want you to be here. We want you to want to be here. If you don't want to be here and you don't want to play for us, like, I don't care who you are.
It's going to be like the NFL. If you show out, you do your work, and you ball out, you're going to be treated like a celebrity. You're going to be stopped at every corner of the street in Lincoln. You're going to be asked for autographs. You're going to be asked for pictures. Then on the switch side, if you don't put in the effort, if you have bad attitude, you're not a good teammate, you don't ball out, and you struggle for a long, long time or whatever, like, people are going to call you out on social media. Maybe not so much in person, mostly social media, but like, you are under the microscope. So like, if you want to be the big deal, the real deal, like as close as to professional as possible, like, this is the place. Like, you're going to be treated like a professional, and if you don't show up to work, you're going to be treated like a professional. You're going to be shit on. And if you show up for work, you're going to be praised and admired.
I'm curious to see. I know that in past episodes I had mentioned that we have the YouTube series going on of what's next, or where next, who's next. What, I can't remember what it is, to be honest with you, but I'm curious to see if they do it again this year with the coverage of Dylan Raiola.
Oh, for sure. With Dylan Raiola, the number one recruit in the country.
Or even more coming.
Yeah, with more coming. I mean, literally every week there's going to be some new thing that happens with Nebraska football, just because it's going to be this cascade, this waterfall effect after this Dylan Raiola commitment. So
I will tell you, dude, my favorite meme right now is the Kevin James meme, but they put Matt Rule's face over him, and he's wearing like a red flannel instead of the yellow flannel, and he's just shrugging his shoulders. Like, I need that in every day of my life for the rest of my life. I need that meme, and it makes me chuckle every time I even think about it.
Yeah, because I feel like Matt Rule, he's like,
he lets his actions speak.
He lets his actions speak, but like, I'll admit, like, I wasn't happy about the end of the season, and you could tell with Matt Rule when he was talking, like, he was disappointed. Yes, he was sad. Yes, but like, he was excited, and he wasn't distraught or disappointed. He's like, I'm excited for what we have. I'm excited for what we have accomplished, and there's big things coming. And everyone at that point, in the moment of time, they're like, yeah, whatever, sure. We've seen it before. But like, he's standing on business. Like, we want to say it one more time here.
Yeah.
He's proving himself to be the hardworking person he is, the genuine person he is. And he's pulling all the strings and pulling all the stops out to make Nebraska football great again.
You know who's standing on business? Nebraska basketball.
Nebraska basketball, baby.
Yep. God, dude, what a good game. Big win. Huge win. Huge win.
K-State, what we needed we needed another non-conference road win after that debacle with Minnesota and the debacle with Creighton. Those were super ugly. And so we needed something like this. The Michigan State win that we had ended up being huge. They absolutely steamrolled Baylor. They were undefeated, number 6 in the country. They were up like 45-15 at halftime. So I'm glad Nebraska caught Michigan State when they did and beat them like they did, because Michigan State, you trust Tom Izzo and they're going to figure shit out. So
for you, did you? I know you said you listened to some of it. You got to watch a little bit of it. Did it feel like first half it was neck and neck? Like I really think that first half
it was tough. Yeah, no,
it was a good first half.
They were undefeated at home and they had basically a sold out crowd. So it was a hostile road environment.
And then
one of the first this year for Nebraska basketball.
Does Fred Hoiberg things and flips the switch, and it became a varsity versus JV game.
Yeah, no, he basically said, you guys want to look like stupid little bitches, like little idiots out there like we did against Minnesota in the second half. And no one wants to feel like they did against Minnesota that second half that they put on. And so they came out quick, and that's been a struggle for them, honestly, this year, is second half aggressiveness and just like coming out quick the second half. And they did that against K-State. They came out and just absolutely walloped them.
It was good to win that game because
it was never close in the second half.
It was big. It was a huge win. Cannot emphasize that enough. The magnitude of that win, especially in K-State, in Manhattan. I'll tell you, I read a stat earlier today that said like the last 8 meetings between us, K-State has won all of them. And that's back to when we were in the Big 8.
Well, their home record was like 22-2 or something. Like, don't quote. I'm pretty sure that's pretty close to what it was. Like the past 2 seasons, like they pretty much are undefeated at home. So, they are the real deal. They had 2 players returning to their team.
They went to the Elite 8 last year.
They went to the Elite 8 last year. Jerome Tang is the real deal. He's a very good basketball coach. And so, yeah, it was a big win. They are struggling this year. I think it's going to be kind of like Michigan State. I think they will figure it out just a little bit. I don't think they'll be as strong as Michigan State, but they will figure it out, and it'll be a good quad 2, possibly how good they do, a quad 1 win. I believe the Michigan State win by the end of the season will be a quad 1 win. I think Michigan State's going to be a lock in the NCAA tournament.
I think it's going to help us be that last 4 in, first 4 out kind of bubble.
No, it was one of the biggest wins of the season, was that Michigan State win.
And it's funny because we talked about on that episode that we recorded about it, we talked about how Michigan State, the record doesn't do them justice. Like, Michigan State is better than their record shows.
That's literally how it is every year. Tom Izzo takes the first couple of weeks to figure shit out, and then by December, January, whoever is on his team, he has them working at 100%, and everyone's in cohesion, and their team looks like a top 25 team, no doubt. And that's just how it is with Tom Izzo. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach someday. I could entrust him with almost anyone on a team, and he could turn them into decent basketball players.
It was led by 2 double-doubles, one by Gary and one by Mast, which is huge. I thought that Gary was getting the boards. I think he finished with 18 or 20, which
that was against K-State.
Yeah.
K-State, he had at halftime, he had 11 offensive rebounds.
He had 8. I think he finished with 18 though.
18
or 20.
18 or 20 rebounds total. I think he had like 12 or 13 offensive rebounds. It actually tied the Nebraska basketball record with Tanner Borkart. That's a very.
Oh my God, I missed that guy.
Yeah, that's a name drop for you for Nebraska basketball. He also dropped, I believe it was 12 offensive rebounds against Illinois, and that was the record. So now they both tie and share that record for Nebraska basketball.
I was thinking too, like, Rink Mast was making his shots when we needed it to. Like, there were some moments where it's like, all right, dude, you're gonna miss like terrible shot selection. Like I really thought he was making some bad shot selection in the second half. He shouldn't have made some, or he shouldn't have shot the shots that he did. But when he got in the paint, he's backing some dudes down, hook shots, like even a couple threes. Like he was hitting the shots that he had to hit, that he had not been hitting in prior games.
His turnarounds, his footwork, his touch is one of the best in the Big Ten, and it obviously it helps, but like it really, really like helps Nebraska basketball. Their offense flow when he's hitting threes, because we expected him to come in and be a stretch five to knock down threes, and there's really only been a couple of games where he's not done that. Otherwise, every game he's hit one or two. And I know that that K-State game, he came into the first quarter and he started 3 for 3, and so 3 for 3 from three for ranked Mass. Like we were already we were down by 3 at halftime in the first half, but just that energy, that production that we get from your starting players, like you don't lose confidence, and you're like, all right, we can build from that. And like we've seen them that he's knocking those down, so we can work with that. And so that was huge to start out the game with 3 for 3 from 3. And then
I would say too that watching Casey hit a step back 3 was insane.
Yeah,
watching him like just get that hot hand, you know, I notice these little, like, I don't know if it's just like the coach in me, I've noticed people's tendencies a lot faster and sooner, and I pick up on these things quicker. Casey, after he makes a 3, whether if it's like a fast break or whatever it is, or even just like when he's dribbling up the court, he will immediately try to pull up, like immediately. And I think that he's just like, I'm hot, like let me just keep shooting. But I also think like Hoiberg's just like, dude, you make one, keep shooting. Like I'm not going to stop you.
No, he's the only person that has the ultimate green light on the team. Everyone has a somewhat of a
but
green,
his
green
shot
light.
or not shot selection, his like release time is so fast.
But he's good. So I think the plan with the Nebraska basketball, they start the game, they want him to get a shot up real quick, and if he makes it, they're like, all right, let's ride with this. If he misses it, he's learned. There was a couple of games where he didn't do it that well, but he's learned now that if he's not hitting from 3, that he is talented enough to take guys off the dribble and drive the basketball. He's actually very good at finishing at the rim. Typically, guys that are that much of a sharpshooter or that much of a 3-point shooter don't have that aggressiveness or that good at finishing at the rim. He does, despite his size. And so he's been good when he's not feeling it from 3. He'll usually take at least 2. Like he needs to see 2 miss before he'll go into the paint and dish, kick out and dish, or drive and do a floater or something like that. But yeah, he's one of those guys that when you see it go in, like it just fills his confidence cup up to the brim. Like he literally needs like 2 free throws to go in for him to feel like, all right, I got this shit. Like,
and I want to circle back to something you said a while ago on a previous episode. I think it was one of our first ones, which is crazy to me that I even remember this. But you said it's different now. What you meant by that, it is different now because we legitimately have 5 guys on the floor at all times that can score and can make a play, and we will draw up a play for those 5 guys. Like we don't just have one weapon. We don't just have 2 weapons. We have 5 weapons on the court at all times. And I didn't really believe that until this past game.
yeah, no, then one of our next games we play is North Dakota State. The past 4 years, if we played a bad game, we would lose to a team like North Dakota State. I truly believe, after all, I have tangible evidence. I've seen this year's team. I know who they are. Even if we have a below average or even a bad game, we can still beat North Dakota or State or whatever, whoever we play.
But North Dakota and then SC State.
North Dakota. We could still beat North Dakota by 10 plus points if we have a bad game. That's how good of a team I think we have. That's how good, like, if we're not hitting shots that we typically do, we know what to go to counteract that. Like, we're not going to just be like, oh shoot, we're not making threes. Hopefully we make them in the next 10 shots. Like, we're good at adjusting, and we have guys that know their roles, and so I trust us to win these quote unquote cupcake games. Whereas years before, it was kind of a toss-up.
So we just talked a little bit about like our next two opponents. North Dakota. I don't know anything about these other two teams, and
North Dakota is 9-4, so they're not terrible. They're a mid-major, but that's what I'm saying. Like years before, Nebraska could lose to this team if they just played really, really bad and didn't
play our game.
Yeah, play our game or whatever.
And then we play SC State.
SC State's 3-9. They're opposite of what the other team is. I don't think SC State obviously is a larger college, a bigger program than North Dakota. I keep forgetting. Who do we play? North Dakota State or North Dakota?
North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yeah.
So they are a bigger program technically than North Dakota, so they'll have some bigger athletes, but no, as a team wise, basketball wise, they're not as good as North Dakota. So I would probably say that we need to put most of our effort into this North Dakota game, and then maybe we can kind of test some things out and figure some stuff out against NC State.
I agree. I think too that these are both kind of, to your point, very winnable games,
which is huge because conference starts after those two games, and conference does not let up. It is immediately tough.
Yes, two winnable games, but I just hope Nebraska does not play down to their competition. Like I try to forget the Creighton game. You know, we try to play up to Creighton. Creighton is who they are. They're shooters. We tried to outshoot them. It did not work. Didn't.
It's been proven when they don't shoot the three well, they lose. They didn't shoot the three well against Colorado State. They lost. They only scored 48 points. They didn't shoot the three well against UNLV. They only scored like 54 points. So they're a literal live or die by the three type of team, and they definitely lived it up against Nebraska.
Yeah, and just shoot, and they get hot when they get hot. And that's just kind of the way it is. We got to just move on from that game.
We do have the same record, though.
That we do. And I want to just take every single game by game. I know we play Wednesday, right? Wednesday and Saturday? That sounds right.
We had almost a week off before we played that K-State game, and then we have...
and we do play Wednesday, and then I think we play Saturday.
Yeah.
But...
I think you're right there.
Yeah, I'm going to double check. But no, I'm pretty sure like that's the games. And honestly, like I'm okay with that.
Those are our get healthy, get right, figure out that we need to perfect our offense, perfect our defense.
Wednesday and then Friday.
That's okay. They're two lower major teams / mid-major teams. You just came off of Michigan State, K-State, and you're playing your best basketball of the season. So
I would like to see more out of Josiah. Like I know that he's been diving for the ball a lot. He's getting a lot of like dirty calls. He's diving on the floor.
Yeah, he was hitting the shots, his 3-pointers in the beginning of the year. He's kind of stepped back a little bit, but that's I think mostly because of how well Juwan Gary has played.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
It doesn't help that he tweaked his ankle. He got hurt before the season started, and then he tweaked his knee again against Michigan State, or maybe the game before that. I can't remember quite, but he's been dealing with a couple of injuries, but he's just he is that workhorse, and he will literally lay his life on the line for Nebraska basketball. Unfortunately, Juwan Gary, fortunately / unfortunately, Juwan Gary is more talented offensively than Josiah Alec, and so at times we will need Josiah when we need someone that'd be diving on the floor and,
playing dirty,
bust their
playing
teeth,
physical.
But yeah, bust their teeth for someone
Sam Hoiberg, same thing.
Sam Hoiberg. Speaking of Sam,
he hit some shots.
He is completely. I don't know if you noticed this. He's completely taken over the second starting point guard spot over Boogie Coleman.
I have noticed that he's been getting a ton more minutes.
Boogie hasn't played for 2 games.
I did not even notice that, to be quite honest.
He didn't have a single minute for 2 games. Sam Hoiberg has been getting that second string spot, 6th, 7th man off the bench for Nebraska basketball because he's reliable. He makes the right plays. He makes his other teammates better, and he's hitting shots when he needs to. And it's just, I don't know. You feel good. You don't want to be like, oh, the coach's son is getting more minutes than this other guy, but like
He's earned it.
He's earned it like 100%.
Yeah. Have you been seeing that a lot of people have Nebraska ranked as 25th?
Yeah, there was two guys, Andy Katz, and then I believe one other person that had Nebraska in their top 25. Otherwise, right now in the RPI and the net rankings, Nebraska's
32,
like,
right?
yeah, between like 35 and 42, like mid 40s, mid 30s. Like, just depends on whose list you're looking at. But yeah, every day that Michigan State win is going to get better and better. I mean, obviously,
The better teams that Michigan State
them.
beats.
Yeah, we beat them, and then they beat Baylor, and it bumped just them beating Baylor bumped us up 4 spots. So as the year goes on, like that's going to help our resume. As the year goes on, I believe K-State's going to help our resume, and then I'm confident in this team that we'll help ourselves in the resume. Like I think even if we go 10-10 in the Big Ten, that means we won 20 games in the regular season, and I believe a 20-win team in the Big Ten makes the NCAA tournament. So right now we're 1-1. If we go 10-10,
or even an NIT, like I hate to think that low, but
this is definitely an NCAA team or not. If they do the NIT, they better make it to the championship. Otherwise, Fred Hoiberg might have a call into the office.
I don't, yeah, dude. The start of the season and the way that we're trending and the way that we're like performing, just executing, I don't see Fred going anywhere unless we have a total implode, which I think it was maybe 3-4 years ago. Remember when we had to get Noah Vedral to play?
Yeah,
we had to go get football players to play because we just got hit with injuries.
Well, I was listening the year that we made the NCAA tournament, we lost 6 of our last 8 games, and we still made the NCAA tournament. So we need to make sure that we finish on a strong note at the end of the season, because every year, no matter how bad the Big Ten starts, by the end of the year, Big Ten is considered a top 3, if not the best basketball conference in the league. And so win as many games as you can. Don't apologize for how you win. And like, if you literally can go 500 in the Big Ten, like you are not guaranteed, but it is a very strong
a win's a win, and you just look at the wins and losses. Like you look at more of losses. I work with a guy that's a big Creighton fan, but he's more of a big basketball fan. So him and I were talking today about Nebraska. He actually went to the Alabama Creighton game, so he did get to watch that in person. He was telling me that they ranked Alabama higher than Creighton, even though Alabama had 2 more losses, 1 or 2 more losses than Creighton did. And so I thought of it like how the College Football Playoff Committee decides their selection. It's not who you lost to, it's one, how you lost, and who your loss was, who they lost to. So with with like Georgia, they lost to Alabama. Okay, well, who did Alabama lose to? Texas. Texas is in it. So it's like they will go that far deep into your history to decide the College Football Playoff Committee for football, but also just like basketball rankings.
And that's why that Michigan State win was so important. And also that is why that Minnesota loss was also so important. So you just hope that
conference.
Yeah. So you can really hope you hope that you can win the games against like the Northwestern was supposed to be really good this year. It sounds like they're kind of slipping a little bit, but you need to beat like the Rutgers, the Northwesterns, the Ohio States aren't even really in basketball right now. Isn't that good? Like it's the Illinois, Purdue, and Michigan. And
I
even
hate
Michigan
dude.
State,
I hate
and
that
you beat
Purdue.
Michigan State.
I hate that Purdue dude. The tall guy. I hate that guy.
But it's Michigan, Purdue, and
Illinois.
In Illinois, those are the top 3 teams in the Big Ten, at least for the past 3 years, and you can throw Michigan State in there too, which is awesome because we already beat them. So if you can control your destiny with those other teams, and if you win against those 3 teams that I said, like that's fantastic, and that's almost going to guarantee you a spot if you do decently well in the tournament and the Big Ten conference. If you beat one of those top 3 teams, like you'll get in the tournament because of that. But yeah, really, you have a 3-headed monster at the top, and then you know for a fact that you're as good or probably better than all the rest of the teams.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see where this week goes. I don't know what you work or what I work this week, but we can try and link up, watch the game. We got some boys in town, so we'll definitely link up, watch some games, watch some Husker basketball together.
Yeah, we'll watch the next game, and then maybe we can get a guest appearance by one of our closest friends that is in town this weekend for the holidays. He's in the Army and
he's stationed in Hawaii.
And
he is out of his Nebraska touch. I'll tell him that.
He basically cried to me last night saying he wants to be on the podcast. I said, "Easy, bro. Like, you don't need to cry in front of me. It's fine.
Like, it's fine. Wipe your tears.
Wipe your tears. You can be on the podcast." So we'll make sure that we get him on there, Make a Wish type of deal, and we'll make his day.
Yeah, I'm super pumped, guys. As always, thank you guys for listening. If you have not, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We post all of our episodes on there as well. We just posted a vlog of Luke and I playing Pig. There's some pretty amazing shots, and there's some pretty terrible shots on there.
You don't have to watch. It's fine. No, but definitely watch, but don't judge. Please.
Yeah, don't judge us. We're just a couple dudes having a good time. We have a couple YouTube shorts on there as well. Listen to us on Spotify.
We'll get more up there too.
Yep. We it's just a lot going on. It's all right. We're building from the ground up, and
we're not trying to impress. We're just showing you who we are.
That's all that matters. We just want to show you guys we're just normal people. Thank you guys again for listening. We appreciate you guys. Luke, you got anything else for the people?
I don't think so. I mean, by the next podcast, I'm sure we're going to have a full episode of more things to talk about. So,
as always, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Peace out.